Hey, what's up everyone? Ryan here, and today I'm going to provide a full beginner's guide to putting in PGA Tour 2K25. So if you're struggling with putting, you're in the right place. So this is episode 4 of my initial 4-episode series for my ultimate beginner's guide for PGA 2K25. If you want to watch the other episodes and learn about my player, EvoSwing tips, and also shot shaping, club progression system, check the full playlist in the description to check out episodes 1 through 3. But in today's putting guide, I'm going to start with the basics. I'm going to show you 3 different approaches to putting and also talk about distances. Do you trust the in-game suggested distance? And I'm going to go over multiple examples, basic putts, some intermediate putts, and then a very advanced putt at the very end. And trust me, you're going to want to watch it till the end because that final example, you're going to learn a very important tip when you're playing on faster green speeds. I hope you all have enjoyed this series as much as I have enjoyed creating it for you all. If you get some enjoyment on today's video, drop a like. It really helps the channel. Subscribe for more, and there is plenty more content to tune into here on the Gamerability YouTube channel for PGA Tour 2K25 and plenty of other sports games. Okay, so let's talk about putting a little bit. And the reason this is important because when you get to the green, you'll notice your aim marker is already either in front of the pin or below the pin. So the game automatically calculates the distance for you. And it's a good holing speed, especially for uphill putts. But I will show you that for downhill putts, the game's default is very aggressive. So here we go here with a 17-foot putt. You can see that at the bottom right of the screen. If you're playing on normal settings, you're going to see it right on the pin, right? You can also see at your aim marker where you're aiming and how many feet it is uphill at that, or how many feet or inches it's uphill at the aim marker spot. So basically, the game does a fantastic job of giving you the right distance. So you could go up here, not adjust anything, and you could hit this. I'm not going to try to make this putt. I'm going to send it here to the right just to show you all the distance. So if I just hit the default distance on the screen, perfect holing speed, right? The game does a fantastic job on that for uphill putts. If you wonder what the math it uses, so it basically usually uses a 1.6 multiplier, 1.5, 1.6. So what that means is you take 1.5 times the number of inches uphill, 1.5 times 2, that's easy, 3. The easiest way to do the math is half the elevation shown, so half of 2 is 1, add that to the number of inches, so that'd be 3, and that's how many feet you need to aim past the hole. So for this specific example, the hole is sitting at 17. I need to aim at 20. But what the game does, it does it more of like a 1.6 multiplier. So it goes a little bit more to the edge of the next foot. So about a foot further than I would usually play it. It's very accurate. Now, that's the default. It does that for you. For uphill putts, it's fantastic. For downhill putts, it's way too aggressive, in my opinion. So the distance is already set for you when you get on the green for an uphill putt. If that indicator in the bottom right shows an upward arrow, that means it's uphill. Easy to see that with the elevation change because it gives you the information, right? Now, if it was a down arrow, that's downhill. We'll do an example in a minute. So now that's the distance. It does it for you, especially for uphill putts. Look at the grid lines, right? In between the ball and the cup. Now, keep in mind, I will be doing a full in-depth putting tutorial later. I just want to introduce it right now. So, the grid lines move in the direction that the green is breaking. So, for me, right here, right-handed golfer, if I'm hitting this ball straight, every grid line, as you can see, is moving to the left. The ball is going to break in the direction in which the grid lines are moving. The faster they're moving, the more break. If they're yellow in color, that means they're going to be faster and even more break. If they're red, that's an even higher break. You can see red grid lines at the top left of the, or middle left of the screen there. You can see that green there on the edge, red. So that's just indicating how much it's breaking. So my biggest tip I can give for you all, you could do a couple methods. You could just do the fill method. So what players do the fill method, they know exactly, okay, distance is already set. I'm going to aim. I know I need to aim quite a bit to the right, and I'm just going to hit the shot. So there's a lot of players who play by fill. That would be playing by fill. And I was not hoping to make that because now it's going to reset the shot. Well, so maybe I should play by feel more. So that is the fill method, and that's how a lot of players play the game. Okay, so you just saw the first approach to putting, which is play fully by fill, and fill players usually play very fast, but one thing I want to take this time before we get into the next example and show you the way that I putt now. Let's talk about the putting stroke in general. So the same swing, the same parts of the swing that for every other shot are the same for putting. It's just they have different names. You have putt path, which is moving the analog stick, trying to keep it straight back to hit the perfect spots. That's the first part of the swing plane. And then you have contact, the final part of the swing plane with the analog stick forward. Now, what's important to point out is the swing meter has changed, or the power meter. So watch the circle fill up at the right side. That's now the new power meter. And you see the gray circle, the outer circle there? That's your perfect power mark. Now, your controller is going to vibrate if you play with vibration on. Very useful. If you don't play with vibration on, you'll be doing a lot of practice swings to set your power. So basically, you're going to pull the stick straight back as best you can. Once it vibrates, swing forward. Try to keep it as straight as you can. Now, one thing that's new with putting in 2K25 versus 2K23 is the speed at which you move the stick from backswing to downswing matters now. That's now tempo. So you saw I had a perfect tempo on that one. So basically, all I say, the biggest tip I can give here for tempo is just a nice and smooth swing. Just a nice and smooth swing. And I cannot believe I got that contact point right, holding the controller all the way up here to the webcam, because usually I play with my controller in my lap. So yeah, rhythm was perfect there, but it's just a nice and smooth swing. You're trying to keep the swing path as straight as you can, the analog stick straight down, straight up, and not flicking the stick. So players who really did a fast putt in 2K23, I think will struggle with the tempo. Now, keep in mind, the tempo in this game adjusts based on your backswing. So if you were a fast putter, you might just be able to pull back fast and push forward fast. And that was a terrible example because I've never done that. But you might be able to still find your tempo, right? If you're a fast flick putter. So those are the primary components, of course, to every putt. It takes a lot of practice, which is why the practice swing is very important. Click the right stick in when you're in practice rounds. I don't recommend doing this in online play because it really slows down the pace of play. But when you're doing practice rounds, you're playing career mode. Why not practice swing a bit to try out the swing? You're just trying to pull it back. Now, one thing I want to point out, the controller is going to vibrate and tell you right away if you're off swing path. So that first vibration you feel right away, stop the swing. If you feel a vibration before the blue circle gets to the outer gray circle, you need to stop your swing. But when it gets there, swing forward. So that is indicating whether your swing path, the backswing analog stick movement, is on point. So if it vibrates anywhere before that circle, you know to stop the swing and reset. You may have to do this a lot of times till you get a feel for it, but try to hit it down straight, up straight, and just a nice smooth swing. If you do a nice smooth slow swing, that really helps me to hit the rhythm and focus on moving the analog stick straight down and straight up. Okay, so now on to my next approach to putting, which is my way that I putt now. Now, let's show you what I actually recommend, and you can play by feel. Now, I recommend visualization. So you visualize the ball rolling from the starting point, and you visualize the ball rolling through each grid line, and that's how you get your initial read. So then I'm going to move the aim marker in response to each of those grids, right? I'm going to move it a little bit to the left until I think I have the line. So now is the most important step. You know the distance is already set because the game does a great job with that, right? So especially for uphill putts, I'm going to say that 1,000 times. So after you set your aim, based on visualization, just imagining the ball rolling across those grids. Then if you hit Y and you move the right stick down, you get a great view from low. And it's this view that I use to see, okay, do I have the right line? I'm like, okay, that looks good. So then I'm going to send the putt. So that is how I putt. And I know if you watched my PGA 2K23 content, I'm going to go back to the game's default, get back to my read just to demonstrate. Now, in 2K23 and 2K21 in the entire golf club series, I assigned numbers to grid lines, but it kind of started taking the fun out of the game for me. So I changed to visualization. Imagine the ball rolling through each grid line. It's much faster. I just visualize here. I just imagine the ball rolling. I move the ball, and then I look at it by hitting Y, moving the right stick, looking down. I'm like, okay, it looks good. And then I send the putt. So that is how I putt now. Okay, so now I'm going to get into the second example here for the method that I use putting. Been basically doing this for about a year, switched from the systematic numbers approach. But then after this, I will show you the systematic numbers approach for those that want to use that on a more basic example. So here we go. We're 41 feet away, uphill 1 inch, and the game's default is really good for most of the green speeds in this game, especially for uphill putts, as I've said 1,000 times in this video. Now, later, you're going to definitely see that downhill example, which you've heard me mention a lot, and it's very important to see that. But a thing I forgot to talk about before we get into this example is you see the grid lines moving at me? So you see the ones moving side to side I already talked about. So the grid lines moving at you, if they're moving at you, that's showing that you're hitting into an upslope. If they're moving away from you, that means that the slope is downhill. So now that's important because uphill putts break less than downhill putts. Now, if you're hitting a long putt, the putt is going to break less at the beginning when it's uphill and more at the end when it's downhill, or it's going to break more at the end anyways because the ball is going to slow down. At the beginning, the putt is traveling at its fastest speed. It's going to break less. At the end, the putt slows down. It's going to break more, right? So it's important to apply all those elements into every single putt. You're looking at the uphill, downhill. You're looking at the side slopes, and you're trying to determine where's this ball going to roll and how do I execute the shot, right? So the game does the distance information for you, which is very nice. But here we go. So if I was to approach this putt, the first thing I do, I visualize the ball rolling off my club face, and I watch it all the way through all the grid lines, and I try to visualize it. So I have that potential line, and then I'm going to go ahead and set where I think I need to move it in order to meet that break, right? So then I set it. Now, on long putts, if you hit Y to do the scout camera, you can't hit left trigger and right trigger to zoom in and out. So you would have to move the aim marker with the left stick. I don't recommend doing that because then you'd have to reset your putt and find your spot again. So all you got to do is click the left stick in if you swing with the right stick. It'll be opposite if you swing with left. And click it twice, you get this down low view. And you try to visualize the ball rolling. On short putts, you can use that other view to get down low. So I think that I have a pretty good line here. And now the only thing left to do is I think I need to move a little bit more to the right because it's not going to break as much at the beginning. And I think I have the line. Now just got to execute the shot. I feel to make sure I have the swing path, no vibration at the beginning, so I'm good to go. And then whenever I hit that last vibration, I'm going to hit the send button. Now, rhythm was a bit off, but a very, very good putt. So if you could get that close on long putts, you're doing a good job, right? I mean, at the end of the day, I'm happy with anything close like that on a 41-foot putt. But what you saw there, the game's distance was really good. These are 99 feet green speeds, like the slowest green speeds you could get. But it's honestly very good. 99 to about 1. Well, it's honestly pretty good on all uphill speeds. On downhill speeds, there's some variation. Now, I'll talk about that on the extreme green speeds later in this episode for extreme uphill and downhill putts, and I'll show a downhill example. You can't always trust the aim marker, but use your instincts. Adapt during a round. If the game's default is causing you to be short every time, well, go to the game's default and add about a foot or two, right? If you're constantly crushing the ball, then go to the game's default distance right away and then take off a foot or two if you keep crushing it. You got to adapt to every course, every speed, and every putt throughout the round. If I was to assign numbers to each grid line on a putt, which is the third approach to putting, I putted like this since the first golf club game, since 2013 or 2014. I've been putting like this. I changed about a year ago to do more of the visualization technique and have had much more fun doing it that way. A lot of players have fun playing by feel. So if I was to assign numbers, what I would do, I would look at each grid line. Now keep in mind, my number system I've always used, I assign numbers based on fill. The numbers are arbitrary only to me. Now I do want to say Respawn Sports in 2K23 and 2K21 was able to have a system to where Respawn was able to look at the different colors and assign an exact number, and it is very accurate. So if you want a full-on, like, number-specific putting, I'm sure if Zane can figure it out in this game, I'm sure he's going to create it. So check out Respawn Sports, his putting guide, because he usually gets it down to the number. My numbers are by fill. The reason is for that, for me, is because I want those numbers to be ever changing so that if I'm missing a certain amount each time, I know, okay, I'm assigning these breaks too high. Now, I don't do that anymore, but if I was to do it, this is how I would do it. Okay, so if I was assigning numbers still and I was playing with my old systematic system, this is how the system works. This is a very basic example. I just want to introduce it to new players today. Now, my numbers are all by fill, as I already mentioned. So what I do, I assign numbers to all the grids between the ball and the cup. So in this case, we have 3 grid lines that are moving at very similar speeds from left to right. The first one, I would assign a 2. Second one, I would assign a 2. And the third one, I would assign a 2. Now, you also have to take into account the cup. The cup is sitting in between 2 grid lines that are moving left to right. So I'm going to assign 1 to the cup. So that's 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 1, which is 7. And listen, I understand you're like, you would play so slow if you played this way. Yeah, well, in the beginning when I first started it back 11 years ago, yes, but I got much quicker with it. I slowed down for you all, but I don't putt like this anymore. I just want to demonstrate for those that want to do it and are used to my system. So then what I would do is that would tell me there's a 7 break putt. You used to hear me say that's a 7 click putt. You're like, what's a click, Ryan? Well, it's just a small movement on the controller to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's all it is. It's not going to be the same movements each time. But what this allows the player to do is to have a number for this putt in their mind. So when you get a similar putt or similar grid lines in the future and you start assigning more numbers, you're going to be like, okay, I played this as a 7 click breaker last time and it broke like 10. I need to increase the numbers that I assign. You're going to do that so much that you're going to be able to pinpoint incredible difficult putts by the number. So those numbers are, that's why I think fill is important with the numbers. The numbers are ever changing. It's just an arbitrary number for you as the player or me as the player for over the years. Like everybody would comment on my putting tutorial videos for 2K21 and 2K23 like, Ryan, how are you getting these numbers? And I would say, well, they're just by fill. And yeah, they are. There's so many different varieties of grid lines moving at different speeds. You're going to learn, if you use this method, you're going to learn more of them. The faster it's moving, if it's an orange slope, red slope, of course, you got to assign like 30 sometimes to those breaks. If it's moving to the left, so say this was left to right, and then right to left at the end, that last number, I would assign a negative number to compensate. So whatever I start with, positive number, positive 2, positive 2, positive 2, positive 1. If that last one is breaking the other way, it would be a negative 1, which means obviously it would be a 6 click breaker instead of 7. I know this is complex out of all the other putting methods. This is why I switched to imagine the ball rolling. It's much quicker. It's much more fun. It's much more satisfying to me, to be honest. But here we go. If I was going to play it this way, I have my line. You always do the eye test. Scout Kelm, right stick down, and you look at it. Does it look like it is going to make, or does it look like it's going to miss high side? I think this one looks like it's going to miss high side. So I'm going to aim a bit to the right, and I think I need to hit this a touch more firm. So I'm going to move the aim marker a touch further. That's the eye test. The eye test is so important, no matter what you're doing, unless you're playing by fill, and then you just get up there and send it, and sometimes you make it like somehow I did. But here we go. So then you execute. You pull back the stick, you feel for the vibration, and as soon as it vibrates, you're going to swing forward. Try to keep it as straight as you can. And good correction there. right? Rhythm was a bit quick. Rhythm being quick actually caused that ball to go offline a little bit. Contact and swing path were perfect. That's why the eye test is so important. I assigned a number 7 to the shot. I corrected to a 6. That still was a 6. A 6 made it, but that was probably more like a 5 to hit center cup. That is the number system, right? It is a complex system, but it allows you to get a number for all your putts so that you know exactly next time when you have a very similar putt, how to assign that number. And over the years of doing it and hours of doing it, you're going to be able to pinpoint. Putting has been the best part of my game for a long time, but I changed from the assigning numbers because it just took a lot of the fun that I enjoyed out of the game over the years, because I was just systematically breaking it down too much and it just got old. Like, I got tired of the math and I'm like, I just like to visualize. I like to visualize and see the ball and then move. Now, the cool thing about the practice facility, each time you make a putt, it's going to move you to a different putt. So it's a good way to practice. So yeah, that is the 3 different putting approaches that I have used and can use. I don't like fill. I think just getting up there, you'll see people in online rank do this. They're just, here's what they do. I'm serious. They go away, they look, they're like, okay, aim to the left, and then they hit the send button. That's what they do. And a lot of times they miss it like that because they're rushing the putt and they end up missing the swing. And some players are insane at doing that. That's fill. So yeah, you know, playing by ultimate fill like that and just moving so quick, playing fast, I don't find that fun. Some people find that fun. I like the other method I showed of actually visualizing the ball rolling through the grid lines. So that is my favorite way to putt now, instead of assigning numbers. Some of you are going to be absolutely shocked on that. It's, to me, I learn more by doing it, and it's so fun. So I do that on every putt now. Now, some longer putts, I do assign more complicated numbers. Okay, I know I said no advanced putts in today's episode, but I just couldn't help myself. So here we are with a 64-foot putt, uphill 5 inches. You can see the game's default distance, it says, is 72. Now, these are slow green speeds. I'm hitting into an upslope right away, and we got a heavy break at the end. So I am going to do the numbers approach for this putt just to show you all how that can be applied. Keep in mind, I would not do that playing the round. I would do the visualization approach like you've already seen. But just for demonstration purposes to see if we can pinpoint this, let's try to do it. So the way I would do a long putt like this, I would move the A marker back here. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to slowly move through, low like this, right stick low, left stick I'm moving, and I'm just going to assign a number to each grid. Now, I'm probably going to lose count. So I'm going to assign right at the ball a 3. 3, that's 6. A 4, that's 10. A 5, that's 15. A 4, that's 19. A 3, that's 22. A 2, that's 24. A 3, that's 27. See why I don't do this anymore? A 5, that's 32. A 2, that's 34. And then now you see it's moving the opposite direction. We're at 34. I've got to assign negative numbers. This is when it gets really, really complex. And you can see they're breaking a lot. We have yellow slopes and they're moving fast. So these all look like they're moving in the same direction. And I can apply my knowledge that I know in general based on this putt that it's downhill at the end and it's heavy sloping left to right. As the ball slows down, it's going to break more. So I'm at 34. I'm going to assign all of these like an 8. 8, 16, 24, 32. So that's that line. So now that's negative 32. So 34 minus 32 is going to be, it's going to be 2, right? So simple math, right? You see why I stopped doing this? So 8, and then I'm going to assign the last one a 10. That's 18, and then I'm going to assign the last one a 4, a 22. So that means it's a negative 22 breaking putt, at least in my, or a negative 22 click putt. I assign numbers positive right away. Right to left is positive, negative is left to right. You see why I don't do this anymore? But I want to demonstrate it. So then what I would do, I'd come back here, go back to my aim. I'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Now, I know what you're saying. Longer the putt, it's going to be bigger movements. And yes, it's intentional that way. So the way I've always assigned my numbers is to account for that. So now I'm going to take a look at it from this side. Take a look at it from the other side, from the low view right here. And I do not think it's going to break that much from left to right. So I'm actually going to take off about five clicks right there. And I like the speed the game gives me here. I'm not going to change that. Got to hit a 90% swing to hit it. So here we go. Let's see how good our math is. A little bit overswing. I crushed it. Wow. That was right on. What did I mess up on? The eye test at the end. I moved 5 clicks to the right. And that's one way of doing it. So the reason I don't use it is, well, here. Let's move to another position on the screen here. Just move to another position. And here we are, 57 feet, uphill 4 inches. I know the in-game's default is really good. I'm not going to change a thing. Imagining the ball rolling, it looks like it's going to break a couple grid lines to the right. So now I'm going to aim about almost a grid line and a half, right? So then I'm going to change to the low view, left click, get the break. Now, one thing I realized, look at the beginning break. It's going to break more off that slope than you anticipate. So this is me playing my visualization, and then we send the putt. So much faster, and let's see how close we get. So that is why I don't do the number system anymore. Because doing all that work and ending up getting close, but you know, it's just more rewarding. Like the number system, it's not as rewarding for me. But when I can get up here and pick a random spot here and send it close, that is very satisfying to me. So what I do, imagine the ball rolling, imagine how much it's going to break if you hit it straight, and then pick your path based on that information, and then send it, right? So trust the in-game default for most uphill putts, make adjustments as you go. So I will get into an extreme downhill example right now. Okay, so here we are, hole number 1 at Oakmont. And this is to demonstrate not only a faster green speed, but also what the game does by default. The game by default plays every downhill putt like you're trying to crush it to make it every single time. So in the training facility, you had the slowest green speeds. So at the bottom right of the screen, you can see the distance shown. This is the max screen speed at Oakmont. This is very firm, very fast. 188 green speed. Means when I hit a full putting stroke, it's going to travel 188. On the practice screen, if I hit a full stroke, it's going to go 99 feet, slower greens. Now, you saw at the practice facility, it was spot on the uphill putts, and it was pretty spot on for downhill putts. But when you get to like 130s, 150s, into the 180s, whenever you see that at the bottom right of the screen, just ignore what the game tells you right there. You see how it says aim at 17 feet on this 20-foot putt that's downhill 6 inches? Let me show you what happens when I do that, okay? Let me just hit this the way the game wants you to hit it. This throws so many new players off. I'm telling you, you're gonna want to see this. So here we go. I hit the game's default power.
Come on, ball.
Is that a good holing speed? Well, you tell me. The game does a great job for uphill putts. It does it good for downhill putts on 99, like 120 and below. It does a pretty good job. But for the most part, when you get 5 to 6 inches downhill, the game plays it ultra aggressive. The game uses like a 0.75 multiplier to inches to feet. So, as you saw, it is a nightmare. So let's go back to that putt and let's play it my way. So to do this, I'm going to declare an unplayable, and I'm going to reset the shot as an unplayable. So I'm going to hit LB, and we're going to take the shot from the
This putt
same
is
spot.
From around 20
So,
feet.
We're on
Give it
max
a
green speeds
downhill
here
putt
at
that goes
Oakmont.
to the right.
It's downhill 6 inches at the cup. I can see that in the bottom right, and also I can see it here. Now keep in mind, if you have the aim marker turned off on higher difficulty settings, you will not have that information on the aim marker. And you'll only have the information on the bottom right if you turn it on in the display and HUD options. If you don't turn it on in the display and HUD options, you're going to see nothing. So make sure you turn that on the higher difficulty settings. But for this example, it's a 20-foot putt downhill 6 inches. If this was downhill like 1.6, like 1 foot and 6 inches, it would only show 1 foot. So it does not show you like in between areas. It show it 1 and then it'll move to 2 once it gets to 2. So you're kind of guessing in between when you're playing on the higher difficulty settings. But most of the people watching this video will play on pro or below. And when you reach faster courses in the career mode, you see green speeds at the bottom right of 134, 145, 155, whatever the number is. If it's above 120, you better wake up. And what you're going to do, it's simple. What was the multiplier I gave you all earlier? 1.5 times the inches. You're going to take, it's simple. You take half of the inches downhill. Half of 6 is 3. Then I add that to the 6 inches to get 9. And that's how many feet, it's inches to feet. That's how many feet I need to aim shorter. Keep in mind, this only really checks out perfectly for downhill putts when you're looking at like 155, 144, 13, like any of the green speeds below 117s and 174s, 188s are a different level. So if I play this putt like this, for example, if I take off 9 to it, like I just said, I would need to aim at 11. This is how I'd play 99% of the green speeds in this game right here. And then I would do the eye test, right? I visualize the ball rolling through each grid line, and I just move the aim marker, stop when I think I have it. I do the eye test here, and I'm like, okay, that should work. And I'm going to hit it with the 1.5 multiplier right here. So perfect power. Rhythm was a little bit overpowered. But as you can see, that 1.5 multiplier, although it's a good holing speed, as you just saw, it's going to leave you with the 8-foot putt coming back up the hill. So what I do on 188 green speeds and 17, like around 17, 18s, and you can change this throughout your round. You're going to learn on the first hole, after you use the game's in default distance, you're going to learn very quickly how to adjust. So when you hit the game's default and you miss it too far, you just know to take off some distance. You can just play by feel that way. When the uphill, when it doesn't give you enough, you keep under hitting uphill putts, add more to the game's default distance. And same thing if you keep missing, if you keep hitting long putts too far based on their recommendation, add more to it. Just don't overcomplicate it, right? I used to overcomplicate everything in this video game, and you don't need to. You just got to think a little bit. So let's go back to the previous mark here. We go straight at the pin. It's 20 feet downhill 6. I used 1.5. I know in my mind, it's more like 2, right? So the last multiplier I used was 150%. I'm going to show you on 188 green speeds, downhill putts, you probably better use something like, well, 200%. So 200% of 6 inches is 12. So basically for this putt, if I wanted to play it very safe, as you probably should, I need to aim 12 feet short. That's aiming at 8 feet. That's 200% of the inches, changing it to feet. Don't have to overcomplicate it. You just double the number, right? It's simple math, right? You just double the number on these higher green speeds. So then I'm going to play ultra safe here. Now, granted, I've got to strike the ball perfect, right? So I'm going to try to do that. And I'm going to do my fill. Imagine the ball rolling here. And now we're going to hit the putt. And for tempo, one thing that helps me, just a nice smooth swing. Don't do anything fancy. So as you can see,
Ooh, just
good holing
missed.
speed, and it stopped shorter. Now,
You
it's
know
still
what
rode
I would
out to
like?
4 feet beyond.
And I'm sure
That's
you
better
would
than
too.
8 feet,
I'd like it
right?
to drop on
So
this next putt.
you're going to respond based on the course. Some courses are just faster. This is on very firm, very fast settings. I put it on here for Oakmont. That's just to prove a point here. That my rhythm was like 0.75% overpowered, which did affect it. If that was perfect rhythm, I think we would have been very close to the hole. But you see how that's a much better holing speed there? Does that make sense? Be careful on fast greens. Do not use the game's recommendation for downhill putts. For uphill putts, yes. Use it first. If it's off by a mile, make quick adjustments. If it aims like 65 and you know you keep missing it by 2 feet, you keep hitting it too far on their recommendation, just take off 2 feet on every other shot that round. So learn to adapt, learn different green speeds, and learn what's happening each round, right? Specific round, specific course. What is the game recommendation doing when you strike it good? Is it going too far? Take distance off of it the next time. If the downhill putt's going 45 feet past it, change it. This, I'm telling you right now, this right here, the game's recommendation for downhill putts on fast, medium, and fast green speeds, I feel like makes people uninstall this video game. Because every uphill putt, it gets it really close. And then you go downhill, it's just like, what in the world is happening out here? That's why I shared this in this video today, and I hope you all find this helpful. And that concludes my ultimate beginner's guide. It's probably going to be 5 hours long by the end of this. What did I cover? Everything? Yeah, I think so. Hope you all enjoyed it. Hope you all found this helpful. Those are some tips. You know, I'm going to try not to overcomplicate things too much. And it took kind of the fun out of the game, the way I played it for the past 11 years. So I have a lot more fun playing the way I play now. Because everybody has their own system. Find the system that's fun for you and just have fun, because at the end of the day, that is what gaming is all about. If you got some enjoyment, found something helpful in this video, be sure to drop a like. It really helps the channel. I spend a lot of time creating these tutorial videos, and my main goal with them is just to help you all learn the game and learn what I've learned. That's what it's all about. That's why I started this channel, Gamer Ability. It got the name to help people learn games and just have fun. Because at the end of the day, gaming is meant to be fun. You all are all legends. I greatly appreciate all the support. Subscribe for plenty more PGA Tour 2K25 content. I have a career mode series. I have a Gamer Ability Society you can join in-game. Be on the lookout for that. And just have fun, everybody. I'm having a blast. And wow, plenty more tutorials will be coming your way on the different systems. What other tutorial videos are coming? That's a good question. So I want to do a short game tutorial, elevation, lie range, and full hole tutorial series, putting it all together. But as you all know, maybe not all of you at this point, well, my first child could be born anytime. So my wife is 9 months pregnant, which means by the time you're watching this video, first child has already been born. So I say that in saying that I don't know what the future of my gameplay tutorials will look like after today, so it might be a little bit. I will try to do a lot of still gameplay videos, course showcases, rank series, but I know that I still want to dive into short game, bunker shots, all type of short game approach shots, and also take a look at elevation changes in lie range. Now, you got a little about elevation changes in episode 3 of this series in that final shot shaping example. So you got some of it, but this was so much fun. I hope you all enjoyed this as much as I enjoyed creating it for you all. There is plenty more PGA Tour 2K25 content you can tune into here on the channel. You can check the full PGA 2K25 tutorial playlist in the video description to see if any more tutorials have dropped after episode 4. I already know, I can see the comments already, like, this was like 5 hours long, Ryan. Yeah, that's fair. I will see you all in the next video on the channel. As always, have a fantastic day, everybody.